Tristan, you know the drill.
We will just eat orange for how long.
You guys show up and it's like, I think the bell's on. No, you guys show up always on time. But I think that you don't, so then I'm thinking the bell is already wrong, and then. Happy birthday. Another one. Is it Riley? Your birthday's coming up?
Yes.
Next week?
My birthday never comes up.
All day, every class.
No, you.
Every day.
Birthday during school is just like everyone's teaching their birthday. Everyone's fake to your birthday.
All right, homework. Any questions?
Okay. Homework problem.
All right. You need to be a little bit quiet. So I'm going to point out the main points of these words. There will be a word problem on the test. Hey, there's going to be 3 numbers. Right? Fourth one is the X. 2 of them, or there'll be 2 quantities of something. Right? You get to set the what you want to be, unit 1, unit 2. So remember, the proportion is unit 1 over unit 2 is equal to unit 1 over unit 2. And just as we did 4 times in class yesterday, you just pick. So for which one, Ron?
Number 2.
Number 2. Tell me the 2 things that it deals with.
Oh, do I just have to read it out?
No. Now, I'm just going to say, some of you are like, well, you're full of it. There's only 1 number there. Yeah, because the other numbers are in written form, like words. There's 3 numbers there. Are you going to read?
Oh, okay. 3 cans of cat food cost 87 cents.
Now stop and tell me, what 2 things are they talking about?
3 cans of cat food
What
that cost
2 things are they talking about?
3 cans of cat
Okay,
food.
I'm sorry for gendering you. I got boy, girl, right? So I got a boy and I got a girl. I got 2 different things, right?
Yes.
Now what 2 different things are they talking about?
What? Say that one more time.
I got pen, I got a pencil. Those are the 2 different things, right? What 2 different things are they talking about in that one sentence?
They're talking about cash and they're talking about
Money and
how much they are the quantity.
no. Money is the first thing.
It's got to be 2 different items. Like we had like cat food or like gas and miles. You know what I mean?
So the money is right. What's the other thing that they're talking about in that first sentence?
The cat food.
Okay, cans, right, or what they're talking about. So we got money and cans. You get to pick. Where do you want the money? Where do you want the cans?
Oh, I want them on top and bottom.
Which one? Which?
Cans on top, and then the food on top. Money on top.
Money on top.
And then how much.
C for cans. Not how much. That's the money.
No, it's saying how much. Why? But it's saying like there's 3 cans. That's how many there are. 3 cans.
3 is the number, not the thing.
Yeah.
It's like saying you have $5. Dollars is the thing. 5 is how many you got. 3 cans. Cans is the thing. 3 is how many you got. I want the things first because that's what you pick for unit 1, unit 2. Okay. So you decide to put money on the top, cans on the bottom. Now all we do is we write that ratio. So give me on that first sentence, money over cans.
87 cents over 3.
So 0.87 over 3. And then we do the same thing on the other side, but we got to put money over cans. There's only going to be 1 other numbers there on number 2. Is it cans or is it money?
Is it It's just cans.
So where does that go? According to your pattern.
On the bottom of this.
I'm not going to say those numbers are friendly. They're not. But the cross multiplication is easy. This times this divided by that, and you're done.
What's 8 times 87?
It's 0.87.
Thank you.
I just wanted. I mean, it's okay. Granted, for some people, this is a large ask to set that up. For others of you, it's not. It's stupid simple stuff, right? You just set the units. You figure out what it is. Some people will struggle, but most of you will not. Don't overthink this. There's 3 numbers. You got to pick the 2 units. You decide, and it didn't matter whether you do dollars over cans or cans over dollars. It's your choice. But as soon as you set the time, you stick with it. If you show me this on the test, I mean, this is B work right here. A work is you got to do the math right. You set it up correctly, you've done your part, right? Well, literally, I'm saying this is what we're really teaching you is setting up the proportion, not doing the proportion. You've been solving proportions for a while now, but you got to be able to set it up. All of those ones that I assigned are exactly like that. They just deal with 2 different quantities. You set up the proportion, you solve it, and you're done. All right, anyone else? Okay. What now? You read it, you got your book. Okay. What 2 things are they dealing with?
That's why I couldn't figure it out.
Okay, so some of them, I mean, it is a literacy thing too. Dentist and a brain. Okay, and that's it. Cool. All right. Here we go. Number, what we left on? 2 through 26 even. So I'm going to call these out real quick. None of these answers are friendly answers, right? None of them are. Okay, number 10 is the only one. The rest are all ugly numbers. You're in Algebra 1. You're all going to be fractions. Oh, 2 of them. Sorry, 6 and 10. Nice. 6, 8, and 10. All right. Number 2 through 26 evens. Number 2 is 12 over 7. Number 4 is 5 over 2. Number 6 is a friendly one, is 4. Number 8 is friendly, it's 6. Number 10 is friendly, it's 6, and then they're not friendly. 12 is 21 over 32. 14 is 15 over 8. Number 16 is 9 over 4. Number 18 is 5 over 6. Number 20 is negative 5 ninths. Number 22 is 9, finally a friendly one. Number 24 is negative 7. And 26, it looks like it's the hardest one. The answer is 5. Then I go up to either 2, 4, 6, and 8. All right. For the problems, the first one, number 2, is $2.32. Number 4 is 20 liters. Number 6, ugly, ugly, ugly. 45 muffins. But most of you probably did it in dozens. If you did it in dozens, it's 3.75 dozens. Now, probably, did anybody actually convert that to muffins? Okay.
Oh, wait, no.
All right. So what was your fraction? 3 3/4. Right. That's the right answer. And then number 8 is 69 dentists.
Can I click one more?
Yes. All right. I didn't say that this chapter was easy, but I didn't say that it was as hard as chapter 6. Right? Chapter 6 was the butt kicker with fractions. We're about to do something that some of you will, if you don't pay attention, are going to look at, Passie's behind you, are going to look at it like, oh my word, we're back to chapter 6. This is going to be a butt kicker. Today is actually a medium day. It's going to look really ugly and really intimidating. Don't be intimidated by this. How are you brothers talking about? You're trying to get me to say bad things about you.
Do it.
that you misbehave in class and that you're a terrible person.
Who was trying to get in?
Her brother. I was like, are we talking about the same girl?
Okay, this. He's off.
Whose did I not get?
Mine.
Whose did I not get that's an actual person?
What does that even mean?
Jasper.
no.
Forgot Jasper.
What?
Just attacking me.
I am. Because everyone is not organized. I kind of was.
Okay, hey, I'm also going to give this warning. I realize this might, fall on deaf ears here on this class. Hey, I'm going to teach you something that's brand new, you haven't done before. I'll hand it to you a second. Because of the testing, if we goes into the third day, we're not going to see each other for math. I mean, I'm going to see you every day. But we're not going to do math until next Thursday. So technically, this homework is due next Thursday. Some of you will make the wrong decision and decide
Not to do it.
until then. Well, some of you will never try it, right? But others of you will decide, well, I'll try it next Wednesday because it's due next Thursday. And then you'll look at it next Wednesday and you will not have a clue of what to do because you've forgotten it all. So my recommendation is you do this tonight. One, right? There's nothing that needs to be turned in tomorrow. There's no math homework tomorrow. You got plenty of time. But if you don't do it tonight, you're probably going to forget this. All right, here's your homework 1 through 16 all. You're going to look at this, what's in front of you right now, and say, oh, I got to do 16 of these. Right? It's going to be horrible. These are actually very easy to medium.
Remember, odds are in the back of the book.
Remember, the odds are in the back of the book.
Just one for the back.
And just so that you know that I'm a real person, I can't do this quick enough.
Was that an iPhone?
I think it is.
Just look on the
Bro,
back.
iPod 12 Max Pro.
I told you before, my wife hands a phone to me whenever I need one.
Bro, they got the AirPod Max.
And just so that you know, yes, that I'm a real person, is
What are
that
you
yes,
doing?
there are plenty of
Photo map.
there are plenty of things out there that will tell you the answers,
My phone map doesn't
right?
work.
And the point I want to make is that, I mean, it doesn't work with everything,
So he's hip.
but if you choose to make the decision to use some outside resources, I mean, there's a button here that says show the steps. Do that, please, and look at the steps and use it to confirm your steps, right? There is no way that if I were your age and I knew something like this existed that I wouldn't use it. There's no way I would have used it. But I would have used it correctly, which is I'm going to do the problem. I got 4 as an answer. What? The answer is 5/2. What did I do wrong? Check the, oh, now I see what I did wrong. That is an awesome thing. And that's why when I hear people say, oh, the odds in the back of the book, you're going to use it the correct way. The fact that the odds in the back of the book are both good and bad.
Because
Bad because it's not going to tell you what you did wrong. It's going to say you're dumb. You got the wrong answer, right? Photomath will show you where you made the mistake. Oh, my step 2 is all messed up. 2 times 3 is 6, not 5, right? I absolutely 100% in college, when I took all my math courses, the first thing I did was I went and saw if there was what's called a solutions manual. And there typically was. It would show you every single problem in the book worked out. That is a good thing. That isn't a, oh, look at me, I'm cheating thing. That is a, I'm going to do my work and I'm going to get immediate feedback. Hey, she tries to do the last one and she has no idea what she's doing. So she had to wait, 24 hours roughly to come back and ask the teacher, what did I do wrong? She missed that entire opportunity of getting it fixed right then and there. So no, I'm not against using any of those resources, but you got to use them wisely. It's not to cheat. It's not to, well, I don't have any homework. I'm just going to copy the answers down. It's the, I'm getting help on my homework. I mean, there's plenty of things online. This book has been out for 20 years. There's plenty. You just Google the book and it'll tell you all the answers, right? Okay. Yeah. It doesn't do word problems. All right. So obviously that particular one, you do have to wait. All right. This is a, yeah, you still didn't get one. This is a really fast behind you. This is a really, really, really important class that you are now get brought into the club, right? And the club of math people is we hate fractions, we just don't do fractions. There's a special club that you don't get into until you're in high school. And the club is, we don't tell this to anyone younger than you. You don't have to ever do fractions if you don't want to. Okay? You're not told this until high school. You're not taught this until high school. And the reason why is it's messy and ugly.
That's kind of a jerk move.
All right. So we are going to do, welcome to the club, we're going to do something they call clear the fractions. And by its name, clear, it means we're going to erase the fractions and we're not going to do them ever again. Right? No. We are going to get rid of fractions. Now, this sounds like a glorious thing. And if it were 100% true, life would be really beautiful. This is only true in one case, but it's the case that you're mostly in higher level math, which is if you have an equation, look at everything that's on the sheet in front of you. Every single one is an equation. By the way, chapter 6, the one that was kicking our butts, none of those were equations. They were all expressions. That means just a whole bunch of numbers without an equal sign. You couldn't have used this technique for anything in chapter 6. But going forward, equations, most of the things we do in this book are equations. You can now, if you choose to, get rid of the fractions if you don't like them. Okay, so the basic idea is this. You have an equation that has fractions. You're like, yuck, I don't like fractions. I don't want to deal with them. Now we get an opportunity to get rid of them. You see this ugly sucker right here? It has an equal sign. I can use this technique. If there's no equal sign, you cannot use this technique. Chapter 6, we couldn't use it. But now, chapter 7 onward, when we have ugly things like this, we will use this technique because this is what all smart people do. I don't want to deal with that ugly mess. I'm going to clear the, in fact, I'm going to take this sucker right here. I'm going to do some math magic, and I'm going to turn this thing, you pay attention, Rylan?
Yeah.
I'm going to turn this thing into that thing. And I'm going to do it pretty simply, too. And it turns out that that's pretty simple to solve because there's no fractions involved. Hey, 20x and minus 15x is 5x. I can solve this really simple. By the way, tonight for homework, it's an equation. They're going to ask you to solve it. Every one will involve a fraction. Their intent is for you to clear the fraction and then solve it. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 problems. That's it. I'm going to claim after 6 of these, you're going to be masters at this. Okay. So stop what you're doing. Watch me work through them. This is an easy one, right? Before we had this, you'd have to get common denominators, add them together, do a whole bunch of things with fractions. Now I'm going to say, the heck with that. I'm going to do something called clear the fraction, right? Clear the fraction is sort of like getting a common denominator, but it's not. All right, here's how it's done. Step number 1, you're going to look at all the denominators, and you actually are going to find a common denominator. What's the common denominator? Everybody's going to say it's 21. I'm going to take 21, watch the math magic, and I'm going to multiply everything by 21. So step number 1, you find the common denominator. Hey, I found it. And then step number 2, I multiply everything by 21. If there's only one bad thing about this technique is it involves step 2. I got to multiply everything by 21. So you need space, right? Don't squeeze 21, 21, 21. You wind up, you don't have enough space. So I'm going to rewrite this fraction. And instead of writing x over 7, I'm going to write 21 times x over 7 plus 21 times x over 3 equals 21 times 10. I took the 21 and I multiplied this by 21, this time 21, and that by 21. Why would I do that? It gets rid of the fraction. Watch the magic. What's 21 divided by 7? 3x. What's 21 divided by 3? 7x. What's 21 times 10?
200.
Look at this and look at that. If I gave you that to solve, would you panic? If I give you this to solve, would you panic? Yes, you would. There's nothing here. What's 3 plus 7?
You could just do what we learned yesterday.
10x equals 210.
Yeah, but this isn't a proportion. Okay, so we get 10x equals 210, therefore x is equal to?
21.
You're done. I didn't have to ever deal with a fraction. This is as easy as it gets. If you look as we go down further, we get some really ugly fractions that you don't want to mess with. This is the technique you use. It's called clearing the fraction. Let's do one together. Grab your pencils. Box 1. Step number 1, we look at all the denominators and we figure out, well, what's the common denominator? 5, 2, and 20. What goes in? Well, what does 5, 2, and 20 go into?
10.
20 doesn't go into 10.
20.
20, right? Somebody say 40, right? Okay, you could use 40, nothing wrong with that. You could use the old technique of you multiply them all together. 5 times 2 is 10, 10 times 2 is 200. Not a good technique, but yeah, we could use 200, but let's use 20. I'm going to take everything. Don't squeeze 20 in next to everything. Rewrite. I'm going to take this fraction. I'm going to put 20 dot, write the fraction. I'm going to take this fraction. Don't forget the minus sign. If there's a mistake made, typically it's you just don't copy something down correctly. I'm going to multiply 20 times x over 2. Equal sign. 20 times 1 over 20. And I'll pause to make sure we're all on the same sheet of music. This is called clearing the fraction. When I learned this in 9th grade, I was like, what? Why didn't you tell me this 2 years ago? I never would have had to deal with a fraction ever before. If you have an equation. And this doesn't work if you have an expression, but if you have an equation, you can do this. Okay, watch the magic. 20 times 3 divided by 5. X. Hey, no more fraction. I turned 3x over 5 into 12x. Minus sign. 20 divided by 2. Well, minus 10x. Stop me if you didn't get what I just did.
What's the first part? What's the
20 times 3 divided by 5 is 12.
Oh.
Yeah.
How'd you get 20? Because 5 times 2 is 10.
Where do you see a 5 times 2? Where do you see a 5 times 2? Okay, she's got it. Equals 20 times 1, 20, divided by 20.
20.
20 divided by 20 is not 20.
1.
Look what she just wrote. Oh my God, this is simple. 12 minus 10.
2.
Therefore, x equals. X equals.
1.5.
What's attached to x2?
Oh, yeah.
Now both sides by 2. We turn that thing into this thing, and it always is like this. It's this really ugly fraction-looking thing, right? It's got to be an equation. You can only just this equation, and it ends up being this really simple equation. So where are the pitfalls? The pitfalls are, well, I guess you can do some bad math, right? And then usually, if there's a mistake, it's just somebody just copies it down wrong. Somehow this minus turns into a plus when you copy it down. So just be careful. Lastly, I'll occasionally get some kids that they'll forget that the 20 has to be multiplied by everything. If there's 4 fractions, 20 gets multiplied 4 times. 3 fractions, 3 times. Anybody lost? It's a pretty slick technique. Clear the fraction. By the way, what would you have to do if you didn't have this technique? You got to get common denominators. That means literally, I got to turn this into a 20, so I have to multiply top and bottom by 4. I'd multiply top and bottom by 10. I have to multiply, well, that was already 20. So I'd get 12x over 20 minus 10x over 20 is equal to 1 over 20. I still deal with fractions. Nobody likes fractions, right? They're the annoying little brother or sister of yours. Okay, I said we're doing 6 of them. You just did 1. Okay. Okay, number 2. Ugly fraction. Okay, common denominator, Chris, what is it?
I have to multiply, right?
I would.
15.
15, good job. All right, so 15 is our common denominator. Now, he said we have to multiply. Just remember, you don't always have to multiply, but it certainly gives you a quick, it won't always guarantee to give you the least common multiple. You can count by 3s and count by 5s, and when you get to the first number that matches on the list, right, that's your common denominator. But 15 is the common denominator. Okay, we're going to rewrite all three things. We're going to rewrite this, we're going to rewrite this, and we're going to rewrite this, and multiply each one of those pieces by 15. Everything gets multiplied by 15. I mean, I took up the whole darn board here writing that. You've got it. I'll have kids that'll try to squeeze 15, squeeze 15, squeeze 15. It just ends up being very messy. Hey, notice I put the x plus 2 in parentheses. Whenever you have multiple things in the numerator, you got to put them in parentheses because it's 15 times the whole thing, not just the x. You just put a 15 right here, then you're not multiplying the 15 times the 2. All right, 15 divided by 3.
5
times x.
x. It's 3x.
Okay, be careful of the second one. 15 divided by 5.
3.
So that 3 would be sitting right here. Everybody see where I'm at?
Yeah.
But it's got to be distributed to the inside. Now I'm going to do what I probably shouldn't do, which is do the whole thing in my head. So make sure I'll say this again. 15 divided by 5 is 3. So this 15 now is a 3 that I'm going to distribute to the inside.
So it's 3x.
3x plus 6. But that minus sign is still there. Some people would do 3 things at once. Go ahead and just see. It wasn't that big of a deal. Okay. The minus sign does what to everything on the inside? Right. And I don't want you to always think negative. I want you to say opposite. Because if the 6 was a minus 6, it would flip it to a positive. So it changes everything on the inside to the opposite sign. 15 times 2. Now, like I said, some people would have done all 3 steps at once. Distributed 3 and wrote the opposite signs. I'm going to take another step and do that. So that's going to be, and that's going to be, so we're good? So this ugly thing right here, if we clear the fraction, is actually this thing right here, which is no big deal. Order? Okay.
6.
Keep talking.
Plus 6.
Therefore, x is equal to? How do you get x by itself? Yeah. Were you stuck on 36 divided by 2?
Yeah.
Okay, 18. Yeah.
How did you get 3x minus 6 by distributing 15 to 2?
Okay, because I did. I said 15 divided by 5 is.
Oh.
Now, could you have done that? You could have. That would have given me, and the other one would be, and what's 15x divided by 5? And what's 30 divided by 5? So could you have done that? Sure. I just chose to do it with smaller numbers. All right. Hey, if you don't realize what you're doing like seriously good. I mean, big boy, big girl stuff right here. I don't show that to anybody but an Algebra 1 or higher student, right? They don't know what to do with that. Like, well, what would I do? I'm like, well, we haven't taught you can get rid of the fraction if you want to. Just remember, this only works because it's an equation. If it was this right here, you've got no choice, common denominators. But because it's an equation, and the reason why the logic behind it is, you can do anything in algebra equation-wise as long as you do it to both sides. So that's kind of how you get the legal math legalese of being able to do this. I said 6, we just did 2. We got 4 left. Aiden, what's common denominator?
You have to multiply.
I would.
35.
35. You can always multiply. You're just not guaranteed it gives you the smallest one. If there's only 2 numbers, though. All right, so 35 is what we're going to multiply everything by. That means the first fraction. That means the second fraction. Hey, life is good. We've got a 0. What's anything times 0?
0.
Life is good. In fact, I could have just written 0 here if I wanted to. Ooh, we got that ugly negative in parentheses thing. Just be careful. 35 divided by 5 times x. Me, I'm going to divide first. 35 divided by 7. Distribute. And, but we got that minus sign, so you got to be careful. So some people would immediately write minus 5x minus 20. Just be careful if you want to do all three in one step. 35 divided by 7. So this is really now 5. 5 times x. 5 times 4.
Okay.
And then we already said that's got to be 0. Rowan said that's going to turn into both of them. And it's not that they always turn negative, it makes the opposite. Just be ready for one of these to be negative, right? And now it's like it's no big deal. It's like a math teacher took a nice, easy problem and said, "Look, how can I screw over my kids?" And wrote that thing, right? Oh, literally, that's what happened, by the way. Like, oh, I can make this really ugly by just changing around, making the ugly fractions.
So he just did it.
Yeah, I mean, like, when you write one of these problems as a math teacher for a test, you take a nice, friendly thing like, I don't know, x equals 1, and you start doing things to it. Ooh, what if I divided both sides by 3? And then took that whole thing and added 4 to both, and that's how you make equations, right? So if I add 4 to both sides, I get x over 3 plus 4 is equal to 1/3 plus 4. Now it turns into this ugly thing like, whoa, I don't know what to do. Guess what? I started with x equals 1. Right.
If you look at it, you can tell it's the same.
Right. But now you know what's going on. Oh, by the way, what do we get here? What do we get? Rylan?
You get 3x.
You get what?
No. 2x.
Then you're going to,
Add 20 to 0.
and then you're going to,
Divide 20 by 2x. And you're going to get 10.
you got the answer. Okay. It's crazy that something that ugly can turn into something so easy. All right.
15 minutes.
We did 3, we got 3 left. We got 15 minutes. It's not going to take us 15 minutes, by the way. All right. Sophia, you got the common denominator, lots 4? Okay, let's think of 3s and 4s. So we count by 3s, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, count by 4s. So you get to a number on this list. Count by 4s. 4, 8, 12. Okay. Some of you say, well, I can just multiply 3 times 4. Yes, that's true. Not guaranteed that that's always going to give you the smallest common denominator. For instance, let's just say the fraction was something over 10 and something over 8. Well, 10 times 8 is 80. That's a common denominator, but 40 is also a number that both of them go into. So you can always multiply them, but you're just not guaranteed it's the smallest number. By the way, 80 is perfectly fine. You just deal with larger numbers in your equation. Okay, common denominator is 12, box 4. So we're going to multiply everything by 12. Everything by 12. Notice this time we have 4 things. 1, 2, 3, 4 that we have to multiply by 12. Got to multiply everything by 12. If there's a mistake to be made, it's like somebody multiplies almost everything by 12. Clearing the fraction. In college, most colleges nowadays have something called learning centers or help centers or whatnot. And so for like sciences and even writing, and especially math, they'll have like a room that you can go to free where there's these math tutors. And so all the people that were math majors, that was like the best job to have, was to be a math tutor, because they gave you, I don't know, it's like $20 an hour. You just help students doing easy math, because nobody comes with hard math. Because we were the people doing the hard math, and so it was always people come with these easy math problems. So you get $20 an hour just for helping somebody doing math. And you had to apply for the job. And I just remember the person that I applied to when I worked there, and they were like, okay, here's your problem. Show me how you would do this. And it was literally something like this. So I'd say, oh, I would just clear the fraction. You know? Just stuck with me as like, hey, that's how I got the job. I cleared the
Now
fraction.
you're working here at this school.
Now I'm doing literally the same thing for less money. I mean, no, for
So then why'd you leave?
I'm making a joke about that. All right.
No, he's not. No, he's
Well,
See, he's back.
12 times 2x. 12 times 2x. Okay. 12 divided by 3 times x. If there's a mistake to be made, it's when this is like a minus and you forget to copy the minus down. 12 divided by 4. And 12 times 5.
30.
All right, Tristan, let's see if you can do it.
What? What are we doing?
Simple addition.
You're going to look at it, you're going to take your best guess.
Oh, 28x squared. Cool.
Not x squared, that has to be multiplied.
Oh.
It's 28x. Okay.
What? Wait, I don't know.
I want to get x's on one side.
I'm good to like there.
I want to get this x over here. I want to, well, we're not going to divide. How do you get rid of just the 3x? Both sides. So you get
5x?
Yeah. So the last step would be, hey, Ryan,
He's kicking me.
the last step would be,
Rylan is the last
Tristan.
step.
The last step would be
Oh, the last step would be just divide 25 by 60.
other way around.
60 divided by 25.
Now you're not going to get a nice friendly answer this one. There's a couple of them like this for homework. It's okay. It's a you do have to reduce the fraction. What goes into 25 and 60.
What? Oh, 5.
So we get 12 over 5. Okay. Don't give me a decimal. Don't give me a mixed number. Just be happy with 12 over 5. Okay. This is the first one that we did that we got like a, I don't know, a uncomfortable answer. But the math, once we get to this step, it's no big deal. Okay. There's 4. We got 2 left.
2 more minutes.
Okay. Sierra, common denominator.
15 more minutes.
Because we actually had 20
15.
minutes and now it's 15.
Okay. Did anybody hear what Sierra said?
15 minutes.
What'd she say?
We have about 15.
She said that common denominator is 15. Aiden's listening. So everything by 15. Everything by 15. The first fraction, be careful with this minus. Second fraction, and well, the whole number.
15 times this one's 5. And 15 times this one.
When you have multiple things in the numerator, you got to put them in parentheses. Put them in parentheses. Because it's really 15 times the whole thing, not just the x.
This is 15 times 6.
Nathan, can you do this in your head? 15 divided by 3?
5.
And then distribute?
3x on.
You said 5.
Yeah, I get some. 5x. Yeah, 4. I'm all mixed up.
Ryan, if
I'm
you
all
don't
mixed up
stop,
now.
that's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
don't, I mean, if you can't, you don't worry about it. It's no big deal. But you were right with the
Yeah.
15 divided by 3 is 5. So I'll help you out here. So it's really 5 distributed to the inside.
That's just 5. Because if it's, because I mean,
5 times x is
5.
x.
Yes, 5x.
And then the second arrow,
Minus 1. 4x.
you're adding. This would be multiply. 5 times -1. So tell me what to write.
Now I'm trying to worry about it now.
Are you okay?
So
I don't know now.
5x, you got that part
Yeah.
right, but what's 5 times -1? It's not 4. That's adding. 5 times 1 is,
5 times 1 is 5. Because
and 5 times -1 is,
negative.
Did someone join the Zoom call?
no, team, so you know, kids has the option when you're at home, type in a question. And unfortunately, it just pops up on my screen when this person, whoever that was, Donovan Mitchell asked a question. So I'll answer after class. All right. We got a minus sign. 15 divided by 5 is
3.
You want to try it again?
I'm okay.
No, you almost got it.
I'm okay.
Okay, you almost got it.
I'm okay.
15 divided by 5 is?
3.
Now distribute to the end.
3x.
3 times plus 1.
Ow. Now we're adding.
We're always multiplying here. So I'm gonna recommend that you write this out. So the distributive property is multiplying.
3x.
You talking?
And then if it's multiplied,
It is multiplying.
if it's 3 times 1, wouldn't it just be the same?
It would be. So the answer is?
That's why I said 3x.
That's the first arrow. 3 times x is 3x. The second arrow is?
There's no x on 1. So we wouldn't.
I know, but that's the thing, because if it's 3x, then
The first arrow
multiply
gets you
by one.
3x.
Yes,
But the second time you're multiplying 3 times, I'm coming from the 3 to the
1
3 times 1.
would be 3.
Right, and you didn't say it. Okay. Rowan said if the negative's on the outside, we change all the signs on the inside. I don't want to say it makes everything negative. It does in this case. But it writes the opposites. So we get negative 3x minus 3. And all of that equals 30. Landon?
Yes. 7x minus 1.
Whoa.
Subtraction.
2x. 2.
No.
-7.
Well, we're just throwing numbers out now.
Yep. Wait. Eight.
No.
-8.
Thank you.
Oh, I can't count. I thought it was.
Now you got to finish it.
There's 11.
Did you pay attention in class?
Plus 8 to 30, which is 38. Divide by 2, which is 19. Yeah.
Yes?
Did you get that?
I don't know. All right. Who here is panicking at this point? With the exception of Ryan, I'm just saying most of you have now realized that, okay, but I do want you to realize, look at the board, what you just did. I mean, chapter 6 was equal amount of work, and you all were like freaking out. Now we do an equal amount of work, you're like, okay, this isn't bad. What was the difference? Well, the difference is 2 things. 1, a little bit more practice, you get used to doing harder things, but 2, you understand this completely. Like, okay, yeah, I got it. You're just multiplying things and solving it. Right? The only difference between chapter 6 and what we're doing right now is that you fully understand what you're doing. I'm putting words in your own mouth, but I'm going to assume that that's true. In Algebra 1 and higher level math, getting to that point where you're confident that you know what to do is so critical and important. Because now the emphasis changes on, boy, am I going to fail that test, to like, oh, I wonder if I'm going to get an A or not, right? Instead of worrying about am I going to fail, you're worrying about how good of a grade you're going to get. And now you're real worried about his problem, which is what's 5 times 1 type thing, right? That's so critical, and I just encourage you to, as a student, I want to get to the point where I'm worried about. I just got to worry about 5 times 1, not what in the world am I doing? I don't even know what to do. First step.
It's okay.
Okay. All right, last one we'll call it a day. Here we go. I got called on everyone.
Including me.
Wanted to.
What?
Chris.
Called on Chris plenty of times. Piper, I did. Chris, how many times did I call him? Twice, I believe. All right.
Piper hasn't gone yet.
Piper hasn't gone. I said I've called on everyone that I wanted to. I forgot about Piper. All right. Piper, can you give me the common denominator? 3, 4, and 5? Count by threes.
3.
Okay, count by fours.
3.
Okay, now count by fives. And when you get to a number on both lists, you stop.
40.
If you count by fives, you get to 15, but 15's not on this list.
20.
So that's how we're gonna get it. Now, for those of you that
20
said,
is 1. It's 21. 3 doesn't go into 20.
thank you. So we got to keep going. So what, 21, 24, 27, 30, 4, 28, 32.
60.
Oh my word. So there's some of these that are incredibly hard. Now, I do want to point out some of you have realized that you can multiply those guys. By the way, what do you get when you multiply? 60. But you're not guaranteed that it's the smallest number. Okay? Chris? Chris?
Can't you?
Is he alive?
No. Say again?
Can't you have just done 15 with like 5?
Well, yeah, that'd be good for 5 and 3, but it wouldn't be good for 4. 4, 8, 12, 16. Okay. But yeah, it would work for that. Okay, so we just realized through my bad math that everyone caught except for me. Who was the first person to catch that? Was it Ryan? All right,
Yeah,
you get a point for that. You do. We just got 60, so we got to multiply everything by 60. So we're gonna multiply everything by 60. Okay. Give yourself enough space. Yeah, 5 doesn't know 21, nor does 4. They were just saying that my math was bad, that when I counted by threes, I got to 20. In fact, it was 21. Okay, here we go. 60 divided by 3. 60 divided by 3
20.
times x minus 3. 60 divided by 4 times x. If you're going to make a mistake, it's going to be you drop the negative. Okay, easy to make that mistake. 60 divided by 5 times x times negative 2. See what it did? Landed. Oh yeah, this one. Now, why is this one more work than the previous ones? You see what we got in the top, the numerators? We got multiple things. There's only one thing in the numerator, it ends up being pretty easy. But when you have a full darn expression in the top on multiple fractions, look how much. But I will just point out the following, that once you get to this step right here, the rest is cake. I mean, it's simple. Who am I picking on now? Brandy? Okay, that's all we can group together. All right. What are we moving? The 5x or the 12x? So that's going to give me. Everybody take it from there? Hey, now it's just a two-step equation. By the way, that's what course 2 is doing right now, two-step equations. Boy, it would be nice to be back in course 2.
Oh, yeah.
They will be in your seat, a year from now. So right now, this is what you were doing, 365 days ago. You're doing this. You go in 1 year time frame, going from solving a two-step equation to solving that big ugly thing.
2020 was 365 days.
You were in course 2 last year. You were 8th grade last year, correct? So 1 year ago, in this seat, well, I forget where you sat last year.
I sat right over. Yeah.
This is what you did last year. Well, this is what you were expected to do, right? So we go from this to this in 1 year. By the way, after all my talking, what's the answer?
Ask someone smart.
12 equals x. Very good. Okay. Questions on anything we did today?
No.
All right. Well, you two tell me. What's the difference between this and chapter 6?
Nothing.
Well, I mean, it's.
Oh, I thought that was the answer you wanted.
All right. Hey, no joke. Don't wait until next week to try this, because you'll get to it. You'll say, I don't know what to do, and you won't do it. Do this tonight.
If we do it tonight, can we send it tomorrow?
Yeah, I'll take it. Tristan, come pick up your trash, push in your chair. Remember, we gotta wait 2 minutes after the bell before we can get our lunch. Haley, I don't know. Are you online right now? Haley. She is not.